to THA Talks, for free thought and open minds.
And for freedom of speech.
Hello, I'm Paul Obitelli and welcome to another edition of THA Talks, the alternative podcast show from the UK. Our talks include news, conspiracies, spirituality, the occult, science, history, art, philosophy, religion and much more. If you'd like to check out our full archive, just go to www.thatalks.com to listen to or to download all our free content. And if there's anyone who'd like to contact us and give us some feedback, maybe you'd like to recommend a guest for the show, you can email us info@thatalks.com. And don't forget, you can subscribe to the show via our RSS feed, and you can also find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, YouTube, and many other directories out there. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining me again here. I've just been combing the internet, looking forward to checking out Tommy Robinson's explosive documentary called Panodrama, where allegedly he is supposed to be exposing a lot of the production team in Panorama and working for the BBC, as well as groups like Hope Not Hate. I haven't seen it properly. I've seen some bits and pieces on the net since that people were filming it from the gathering in Manchester outside the BBC yesterday, but apparently there's been some problems with them uploading the content. Bit of a conspiracy there, or perhaps they're just being very careful about what they upload. I can't really comment too much on it and the claims and so on because I haven't really had a good look, so I don't know how much we're going to be talking about that today, but I'm certainly looking forward to seeing that. But today our main focus is going to be our own, or John's, BBC Expos. For those of you who checked out edition 203, Entertaining Cultural Wars with John, we touched on this subject, and we've got some meat today to talk about, I think, so it's going to be very interesting. And John is with us now. How are you doing, John?
Hello, Paul. Hello, THA. It's great to be with everybody again. How is everyone this evening? How are you, Paul?
Yeah, I'm doing very well. We're getting a bit of an early spring, aren't we, here in the UK? So it's nice and sunshiny. Everyone's enjoying the weather.
I've been loving it. It's been great today. It's been real nice Saharan warm air. It won't last, but enjoy it, you know.
Enjoy it while it lasts. But I mean, I've touched briefly in my introduction what we're going to be talking about today. And to be honest, a lot of what you're about to unveil in this show, I haven't heard a lot about myself. So I'm actually interested to hear about it, as our listeners will be themselves now. So you've got some really,
we really have
scary kind of stuff, I think.
Absolutely. It's those damn rabbit holes. You know, yeah. I mean, in terms of the Doctor Who side of what I've got to talk about tonight, it's much bigger than that. It's the BBC as a whole. It's the entertainment industry as a whole. It's huge. Now, it just goes all over the place.
Yeah, before you go straight into yours, if I can just interject there quickly.
Yeah.
Obviously, everyone's been looking forward to the new Tommy Robinson documentary that's coming out. Now, we were planning on really delving into that as well today, but obviously there's been some delays for some reason or other with that being uploaded. So neither of us has really had a good look at it. I've seen some bits and bobs, and it's looking very, very interesting, but nothing I could really talk about and so on. But obviously, what you've got to talk about slightly relevant, isn't it? Because it's the BBC.
Well, it is, because it's it's all about the agendas of the BBC, and how it's definitely not the people's friend. I mean, with regards to the Tommy stuff, we've had a live event in Manchester yesterday afternoon. At which a version of this Tommy documentary called Panodrama was shown to the crowd. However, the planned upload has been delayed continuously since then, and it was supposed to be uploaded at the same time as the event yesterday, so somewhere between 2 to 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon. We're now coming up to 9 o'clock at night tonight. Doesn't look like it's going to hit the net tonight. And there's been counter talk across Twitter of threats to sue, especially from a certain friendly organisation called Hope Not Hate, which only ever has everyone's genuine best interests at heart. We are quite sure. So with this, without Tommy actually bringing out his video, right now we're not in a position to know which of the claims in the rough early cut he actually wishes to stand by, or whether there's anything that has been shown that he wishes to retract. So it's a little bit hard right now to have a clarity on exactly what Tommy's information is. But the general gist of it is that age-old story of collusion and entrapment,
you
know, and the hunter becoming the hunted and the stingers getting stung. And now doesn't Mr. John Sweeney at least does look rather silly.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think
I think the one thing we can conclude, leaving ins and outs of who's pulling whose leg, whose story is the real one, leaving all that aside, just by John Sweeney on camera, it don't look great for him.
Yeah,
certainly.
I think basically that when we look at the footage that's already come out, they've certainly got dirt on him, and it's a case of, I mean, as you say, who knows what they could be reacting and how he's now maybe thinking, right, we may as well hold back on this stuff or that stuff.
And also, we are not the BBC, and we are not John Sweeney, we're not Panorama. So if there's one thing that we don't do here at THA Talks, Paul, underestimate Tommy Robinson. So whatever may or may not be in a cut of the film that may or may not get uploaded at some point in the near future, that doesn't mean there isn't a lot more behind it. And who knows, maybe there's some more landmines for so-called debunkers to fall all over.
Yeah. Well, hope not hate, you've been doing this to people for a long time. They've done it to us here at THA Talks. Anyone with a bit of brains knows they're not very honest, and that's not really revealing what a lot of people already know. It's more a case of putting them on the spot.
Well, I wish to simplify this. All anyone has to do is go to any public library or bookshop and order a book by a writer called Sol Alinsky called Rules for Radicals. Now, as soon as you've got that one book, you no longer have any dilemma about understanding Hope Not Hate.
Yeah.
Because it's all they do. Nothing is out of line for them. Tell any lie, spin any deception, and if they can get their narrative in first in situations which are your word against their word and you've already demonized the guy, you got to win.
Yeah.
And then you can release a report exaggerating the true extent of hate crime by 3,000% and get applauded for it. And get to work in such close harmony with the British broadcasting.
The shocking thing is how many people just still support them. They'd support if it came out that they were allegedly pedophiles or something horrific. If something, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying if something like that was to come out, people would still defend them. People would still defend them.
Part of the population that would support Stalin if it came back from the grave to leave the Labour Party. You know, I mean, it's. But we know that's the truth, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely.
And we can say that without slandering anyone. But we do want to be cautious because of the fact that Hope Not Hate are throwing legal threats around. And unfortunately, look, we are a couple of innocent working class patriot volunteers, and we just don't have their kind of friends.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, how dare they threaten to take legal action from someone like this, where they've just gone around secretly filming people, making sure people lose their jobs.
This, isn't it? How dare you illegally expose my illegal activities?
Yeah, absolutely. They are the biggest bigots. They're the biggest haters and bigots out there.
Hillary Clinton's the past master at it. That's her whole media profile.
Yeah.
So don't think they won't play these games. But I mean, what we can say is we're talking about a few key members of Tommy's staff. In particular, Lucy Brown. Now, Lucy Brown was Tommy's camerawoman, actually, I believe. And when there was the fracas outside the McDonald's drive-in with the Antifa members who set upon Tommy and his crew, who the ones they tracked to the mosque in North London, I think it was North London. Yeah. Lucy was involved in that, and obviously that footage showed her defending herself. But then not that long afterwards, 2 or 3 months afterwards, she seemed to really turn on Tommy and did did something for The Independent where she said she couldn't support him anymore because he was racist. Do you remember that?
They had a falling out. The thing is, I don't know how much of this was playing along with it so they can do this, and how much of it was the actual fallout.
Legitimate to wonder, because she's shown that she's capable of being part of a successful sting, because that's what this is. And in terms of the main meat of Panodrama, it is about Lucy Brown successfully getting the BBC to be prepared to weaponise false allegations of sexual misconduct by Tommy. That seems to be the main scope of the allegation. Yeah. And based on what appeared to be shown on the screen yesterday in Manchester, that appeared to have some basis. I think that's as far as we might go, really. I mean, we can't, it looked like bang to rights, governor, but then you've got to know that, we know especially that the editor has a lot of power.
That's right, absolutely.
So, we can only put these things on balance, and if there is counter information, we'd have to balance that too.
Yeah,
because that's how it works, and that's how it works, people.
Well, we play fair, unlike them,
Well, yes. Another person involved is a man called Caelan Robertson, who's also known as one of Tommy's close aides. And he again had a story to tell about attempting to coerce him into making incendiary statements, claims about Tommy's behaviour, which were not true. But, it is fair to observe that really in both those instances, a lot of that is based on Tommy's aides telling him what happened rather than necessarily proving all of it in terms of what's shown and not said.
Whether they've got evidence for what they're saying, that remains to be seen.
There is certainly what is shown, and the secret camera filming of John Sweeney and the cannibals of Luton, the Amazonian cannibals of Luton. He deserves to be mocked out of his career for that rubbish.
Yeah.
And I'm a pretty understanding fellow, Paul. I tend to be able to see things from multiple points of view. So there's a little bit of me that doesn't sort of like condemn Sweeney for using that, because I also kind of think in his state of mind, it was an altruistic thing to go and sit with the Barbarian in the cafe. I mean, you could present it a bit like, we're going to look at this exhibit, but you could also present it like we want to be to show that we're collegial and willing to reach out. But then it's John Sweeney and it's Tommy Robinson's aide. So, this was about Danny, wasn't it?
Danny Tomo, I think so, yeah.
Yeah, Danny Tomo. I don't know if that's quite fair describing as Tommy's aide, but he's certainly a fellow activist.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, the irony is listening to people say these things. Yeah, when you're relaxed and you say these things, you should be free to say them and not be completely judged, but like this way. But the thing is, they've started this game, so it's a horrible game we've got into. Really, the whole thing.
Is what we fight for.
Yeah,
Paul.
it's a horrible game.
I mean, I could just watch the telly if I hadn't turned it all into shit. But we are fighting for a society based on freedom and tolerance. They are fighting for a society based on enforcement and diversity.
That's right. It's their game. It's their game. They've started it. It's an ugly game.
The biggest problem with diversity thinking, because what's wrong with diversity? And it sounds like, what is wrong with diversity? The thing is, it's pointing out the obvious and making something out of something that doesn't need to be made anything out of.
That's right.
Rather than removing barriers, intersectionality enforces them. Rather than facilitating people's freedom, it enslaves them with cultural identities that they then are not permitted to voluntarily lose. I had a conversation with someone, I think, who was mocking Tommy Robinson as a racist on Twitter today. And I turned the tables on that person pretty swiftly by linking a video from the Black Conservative Patriots, which is a pro-Trump channel that I love to listen to. These guys are the wokest of the fucking woke, man. They are the their dog's testicles. They're fantastic. And this guy thinks he can speak to racism, but cannot bear to listen to genuine BAME voices. So, who's the racist? And this is what this whole, Ike would call it a perception deception, wouldn't he? But it is a perception deception. It is the robotic and the imposed and the artificial versus the living and the natural and the wholesome.
Yeah, and people got to wake up from it. Wake up to it. That's the nit and gritty of it, isn't it? People got to stop switching on that TV and taking in everything it says.
Yeah, and it goes beyond that now, Paul. Great, you're woken up. Yeah, now you got to do something.
Yeah.
All right, now you see that crack there. Get your lever in it and start hauling. Get information out. Start challenging people. Start signing petitions. Start writing letters. And don't go, it's another bloody petition. What difference does it make? It makes a difference if you believe in it, you push it, you get behind it, and you demand answers.
Yeah, well, you've got to do something.
And it's the same with holding elected representatives to account. And in that part, I do believe that at least in some part, what Tommy Robinson is trying to do is part of that same fight. Because, the BBC are completely out of control. That's very clear. And as I talk about the rest of the information I have for people tonight, it's going to become even more clear. But anything else that occurs to you about... Oh, one thing about the Tommy thing is we also had comments from Laura Southern.
Yeah.
Now, she's an American conservative blogger.
Banned from the UK.
Of course, alt-right.
She's Canadian, I think.
Sorry. Yeah. My mistake there. She's a Canadian. Thank you, Paul.
No worries.
She just must hang out on a lot of American programs. She described some real pressure, blackmail, threats, tactics, and hope not hate to try to intimidate her from not visiting Britain. And of course, things went south for her when she did get to Britain. So, the coziness of a relationship between hope not hate and intelligence services and passport control or whatever is somewhat remarkable. It's very snug. Very snug. And it's simply not a fair shake. And you've got to ask, what are these people afraid of? What are they afraid of?
Truth.
I think that's part of it, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And I don't think they could genuinely be afraid that the racist far right is going to take over. That's just stupid.
Yeah. And the thing is, when the rise in nationalism and populism now, yeah, sure enough, there's a lot of far right ideas that perhaps have grown, but the whole movement isn't far right. It's not everyone's all of a sudden overnight turned into far right wingers.
I think you're putting a finger on it there, Paul. You said nationalism.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. That's not Europeanism.
That's it.
That's not globalism. And as far as hope not hate's concerned, that's not international communism.
Yeah, absolutely.
Trotsky. Oh well. But here's the good news: freedom always wins. Right, and anything as ludicrous as the BBC cannot withstand public rejection and derision. And the one thing which was very cool that Tommy did on stage yesterday was take people through step by step on the BBC website how to cancel your TV licence. Just don't watch live television. It's as dull as paint anyway.
Yeah, I don't watch it anyway. So I tuck into YouTube and bits and pieces that I want to check out. I don't really. Apart from a bit of sport here, maybe then.
One has to admit one's failings, Paul. And hands up. I am an information omnivore. And if I find out about something, I want to know something else about something. I've got a question about this part of it. I want to know more about this part of it. And I want my answers now. Watching BBC News is slow torture, I tell you. The same 6 dumbed down 5-minute talking points repeated ad nauseum until another day, and we do it all over again.
Yeah.
And if they do cover a topic, despite having all this space on the digital channels, do they do any serious, in-depth look at anything? Wouldn't Shamina Begum have been a perfect study for a fast investigative journalism piece? I mean, they apparently were in that camp talking to her, taking pictures. Where's the rest of what they did? Nowhere to be seen.
Yeah. No, that's a. We could have a whole show on that subject as well. But
No, we could indeed. So look, the BBC clearly is failing us in all sorts of ways. And one of the things that Tommy said about his situation is undoubtedly right. With everything that happened to him last year, with the stupidity of that absolutely cocked up stitch up outside the Leeds court, and all of the hoo-ha after that, Tommy's case was the most talked about case in every country in Europe and in America and in Canada and in Australia. It was the most talked about case last year in every country bar one. Ours. Because all there was here was the official line, and don't you dare breathe anything else.
And a lot of people, a lot of well-intent, smart people were saying, well, he done this and he done that. And to be honest, they were wrong, because he was cleared. He should not have been jailed for 13 months. And that's the fact. That's how the court has left it.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what crimes Tommy Robinson may or may not have committed, or may not have served his time for. You remember when justice used to mean that when you'd actually done your time, you had paid your debt?
That's right.
We're a long way from that in our hyper-emotional society now, aren't we?
Absolutely.
There is no redemption for those who fall within the discontempt of the rulers. Tommy has earned a fantastic measure of their contempt, and he's paid the price by being targeted by them. Now, whether his ideas are good ideas or bad ideas, what should have happened was they should have been defeated in the open free market of ideas, which is the definition of a free society. And it also is the proof that unless we get some serious reformation, we no longer are one.
Absolutely. But we've let's indulge into some of this meat and gravy you got for us.
Now, last time I was on, we talked about the culture war.
Yeah.
And what I'm talking about here is everything, right? Your movies, your computer games, your television shows, every channel, every country, every studio, everything, the culture war. And in the last few years, we've had this whole push of this aggressive SJW feminist lines coming through all sorts of ways, and especially the world's greatest franchises. First it was Ghostbusters, then it was Star Wars, then it was Star Trek, and now, of course, it's Doctor Who. So, end of last year saw the showing on television of series 11 of Doctor Who, in which Jodie Whittaker plays the 13th Doctor as a female for the first time in the show's 55-year history, along with Mandeep Gill playing a Pakistani Muslim female character called Yaz, and Tosin Cole playing Ryan, a BAME British youth. So also there's Graham, who's a middle-aged white guy. Okay, so just briefly recapping, the series sucked, man. It was preachy, slow, tedious rubbish, and the audience hates it. And the Rotten Tomatoes appreciation score for Doctor Who for the series is something about 27%. And the volume of dissatisfied audience reviews is so high that the overall rating for the whole Doctor Who franchise is crashing, and it's crashing down to getting close below 50%. So this latest series of Doctor Who is dragging down over the previous 54 years.
I mean, it's that old thing where it's showing that it's a program, not entertainment. It's there to brainwash you rather than to entertain you.
You've got to be incredulous to deny the evidence of the insults that the program is deliberately making, especially if you are a white male of a certain age who grew up in the times when the program had dignity, when it was proper Doctor Who. You know?
It's been a long time since I've personally seen it. I haven't actually seen it for a while, but what you're telling me doesn't surprise me in this.
Well, look, I mean, I totally get that, and I got a lot of this. What are you wasting your time for on telly programs, John? I'm wasting my time because culture matters. It's not just about politics, people. Our mythologies define us in powerful ways, and if you let sinister people get their hands on our mythologies, they could do some real damage. And that's what's actually taking place. Now, I got involved with starting up a campaign we called Not My Doctor Who. It's doing very well, and we've been putting out lots of stuff over the last month. We've been putting out about 4 hours of podcast. There's about 3-4 different articles up now. There's quite a decent amount of memes. There's quite a decent amount of content, good engagement. We're talking to major players and so forth. Because at first I thought that this was going to be about getting the current boss of Doctor Who to go and do another job. You know, if maybe we could find another opportunity he'd prefer to do, that would be marvellous. Yeah. Just get rid of the idiot. But as I dug into this more, I found it seems rather more that the current producer of Doctor Who is a puppet himself.
Surprise me.
And that what we were really looking at is a major warfare against the institution of the BBC being carried out in secret out of a public vision, but where the BBC is actually taking major damage. And we're talking about the weaponization of Metoo allegations.
Oh, yeah.
Now, the breakthrough that we had was initial engagements involved going onto Twitter and battering some of these moron SJWs, who have been just being real pains in the arse. Find out which ones are just wasters and block them off. Find out which ones have to be destroyed argumentarily, engage them and take them apart. Standard tactics. So I started off with this. And one of them said something that just clued us into checking out an ID. And that ID led us to a Twitter group called the Doctor Who Feminist Front. And one comment on that Twitter group, thanks guys, or girls rather, led us direct to their private Tumblr blog. And what we found there was just dynamite. Absolute dynamite. Now, look, this is a group who claims to be currently directly writing Doctor Who. And their material, they've had material online for about 15 months. Their material is clearly very intelligent, very well written, and they seem to have a convincing ability to predict the show. Now, they talk about how they have worked their way into this position to get this 13th Doctor. They talk about how it's a deliberate weaponization of feminism to deconstruct forever and destroy Doctor Who as a patriarchal institution. They want boys to take their instruction from women, not men, on how to be men. Very, very open, right? And they further talk about, they advertise for fans to come to them with Me Too allegations, and they are making right now, unchallenged, online, fully publicly visible, they are making serious Me Too allegations against a current member of the Doctor Who administration. Now, here we've decided not to name that person because although these allegations are in public, don't need to be party of repeating them. Because instead what we did is we did a full PDF exposure on these clowns, documented all the stuff we found and how damning it all was, and we've simply asked for the fan base to be given an explanation. And so far, we're making progress, but they're certainly not keen to do so. So the picture that we then get is where basically hardcore feminists have hijacked this show. They are going to do what they want. It is designed to directly attack patriarchal institutions, man, etc. Their major showcase, and this is becoming relevant just this week, is the Doctor and Yaz characters to be pushed into a lesbian relationship. Now, we've actually seen in the Radio Times and the Express at the start of this week articles talking about shipping the Doctor and Yaz in a positive light. Now, shipping is an internet term. It means when fans of a show, anything, take characters and put them into sexual interactions with each other. And I think it's been going on as long as, right? But it first sort of bubbled up into people's notice around the time of the Twilight films, with a fair bit of shipping going on between the different Twilight characters. So there has been a lot of shipping going on over the Doctor and Yaz. A lot of it. A lot of Twitter likes, a lot of YouTube videos made. But here's the thing, Paul. We've been investigating that, and we've discovered that a lot of these likes are not organic likes, and that the organic likes for the shipping content is very small. Most Doctor Who fans aren't interested. So somebody is bumping up those likes to get this shipping fantasy to look like it has some authenticity. Then the Radio Times and the Daily Express are putting out articles building this up further. And this is quite clearly an attempt to, prepare the audience for doing this lesbian relationship next year. Now, lesbian relationships per se are not a problem. Right? We haven't got no issue with lesbian relationships. You want to have a lesbian drama or something on television, go knock yourself out. But we're talking 6 p.m. on a Sunday afternoon or Sunday evening, right? And even with the David Tennant, Billy Piper romance of the 10th Doctor and Rose, which was like 2006, 2007, mostly 2006. Even when they were talking about will they, won't they kiss, no, they didn't. The idea that the Doctor, as a Time Lord, could have a sexual relationship with a human was very obviously portrayed as something that was simply impossible. Now, a couple of years later, Russell T Davies wrote a scene where a second version of the Doctor, who was really a human, kind of arose out of the Doctor in what was called a meta crisis. Doesn't matter, but there was a human version of the Doctor that Billy Piper got a happily ever after with in the long run. But even then, it just wasn't sexualized. It wasn't about this sexualized romance. Okay, now Jodie Whittaker, she's come across in interviews as so totally unprepared for the role. At the same time, what she says in interviews is so manifestly being written for her with a fourth wave feminist kind of mindset, openly saying, so what if old fans don't like it? We're going to get new girl fans. That is not a way to respect any fan base.
Well, it shows basically that they are coming from a political perspective, not an artistic one. It's simple as that. That's
any creative but worth their salt does not tell their fans off. We're going to get better ones. You just don't do that. Yeah. How is that ever going to end well? But you see, this is the thing, Paul. Right? These feminists do not like Doctor Who. They have got themselves in control of Doctor Who. They say, I'll come back to that in a moment. They've got themselves in control of Doctor Who, but as far as they're concerned, they can run it into a brick wall. They will get to do what they want with it. They have their book, according to them, already written, taking credit for it. So when the show is destroyed and the franchise is killed, and it's just so icky that no one will ever touch it with a barge pole again, You know, they're sauntering off over and taking the plaudits of the SJW world community as heroes. They don't care. I mean, they're very direct about this.
And these people that you've been watching their conversation online, are they legit? Can you?
Right, well, look, this is where we've got to, right? Because there is a limit to what a ordinary person doing online research can confirm or, you know, can verify one way or the other. You do a lot, but there are tools that obviously web providers or the police or professional investigators with the correct software, etc., could be finding out a lot more information. So what do I know, right? Two scenarios, Paul. Scenario one, which I did get a little bit of conversation with a Radio Times writer, and he tried to put this across. There's nothing in it, don't be stupid, it's just a blog, it's just stupid. Okay? If that was true, A, top marks. B, there's not lying about making Metoo allegations, and they're not, and the advert for Metoo victims to come to them has been online since November 17. So that's over a year and a quarter now. And who knows who has been in touch? That's not a joke. Now, if the rest of it is just tormenting fragile male egos or whatever, you've got a situation here where a bunch of radical feminists are attacking Doctor Who for still not being radical enough for them. I call that a story.
Yeah.
So that's scenario one. Scenario two, of course, is that at least in the major part, this is true. And they have got themselves into a powerful position with Metoo leverage, and therefore they don't care, and therefore no one can say anything about them. No one wants to draw any attention to them, and these groups, although they're not set to private, they don't have a big membership, but the ones who are members, how fascinatingly well connected they are to the accounts which have been being the most aggressive trolls against genuine Doctor Who fans since the new series launched, and people started saying, "What is this? This is rubbish." Also, it's interesting who is following them. And there are some major connected players in the movie industry are following this Doctor Who feminist front. Why would major players be following a pointless parody account?
Yeah, that's interesting because they can.
It's not conclusive either way, but that's what we're now asking the BBC to do, or somebody from the production has got to account for. Are we refuting there's nothing to these allegations? And if so, taking some action to get them off the internet because they're destabilising the fan base? Or, reveal that this is being taken seriously. I mean, very unlikely they're going to do that, but, there has to be some accountability, Paul. And dodging it isn't good enough. And this is another thing. This person that this group is targeting, now, I'm working with a grand Irish fella called Noel. You get on with him. He's from Dublin. He's called the TARDIS Zone. He's a Doctor Who blogger. So he's come over and we're fighting a good fight at Not My Doctor Who. We've been slugging away at this, and it's really something, because the more we go into it, the more real it is.
Yeah.
So, we're well prepared to call their bluff, Paul. And we've done an open letter to a lady called Crystal D, who is the digital marketing manager for the BBC. And we've asked her to respond to some key points that we've made. Because either way, there's something real going on here. So it's a remarkable coincidence, therefore, that we've exposed the online presence and claims of this Doctor Who feminist front. And at the same time, we're seeing the media apparently playing out their agenda. I mean, how many coincidences until it becomes, a little bit incredible? Now, on top of it, I mean, who's the BBC trying to kid, right? Because they tell you, we don't have any agendas with our programmes. Look, I'm sorry, right, but we've got the hard evidence about that too, right? It's in the BBC's own documentation. Yeah, they've allocated certain percentages of everything, including handicap disabilities, but there must be this representation across their programmes. So if anyone's telling me that they're not having to bend the plots to shoehorn in characters that don't belong in the story, just forget it. This is clearly not true.
Yeah.
And Doctor Who has simply had to be casualty of that.
I think I think an important point to make as well is none of this is having a problem with strong, powerful, feminine, female programs or characters and stuff.
Have you seen Alita Battle Angel? She kicks ass.
Yeah. But it's the problem is, and I've mentioned this a few times, it's a psychological implication that you're replacing you're taking a strong male character and taking it away. That's a different thing altogether. I've got no problem if these feminists want to club together and make a woman's thing and do that. All credit to you. And if you make a great program, I really couldn't care if it's male or female as long as it's good. But this is an agenda. This is different. This is a psychology, and it's not just the feminine thing. It's taking down the white male as well. The white male is even this old guy, as if implying that you're on the way out, mate. And then there's got a strong Asian or a black guy there, and it's that same old format that just keeps popping up, and it's just it just gets you
this way, Paul. I mean, as you know, I am in some ways a skilled storyteller, and rules of character do not care about gender.
Yeah.
Right. In that, to be a satisfying character, there has to be growth, there has to be change. Right. You have to suffer, you have to strive, you have to work, you have to lose, you have to get back up again and keep going in order to finally win. And most stories revolve around a character, what we call a character arc, which, it might be saving the universe, it might be making a cup of tea, but either way, there has to be something satisfying to the journey of a character. But these feminists don't want that.
No.
They just want to take all the toys and say, mine.
Yeah. Right.
They don't want to earn it. They just want to bully everybody into consenting to declare that they are it.
That's
and
toxic.
They're not it.
That's toxic. We need to replace it. That's what they're doing. It's not. They're not going.
They've managed to produce toxic femininity. Geniuses.
There's been a lot of talent.
I wouldn't use that phrase because it's damn well insult to the beauty of woman.
Yeah.
But if they make phrases like toxic masculinity, so they are indeed toxic females. Because you are what you put out, and they reflect themselves in the mirror oh so well. Men shouldn't tell women what to think. Men shouldn't tell women what to wear. Men shouldn't sexualise women. And they become the biggest bunch of bullying harridans, bossing women about, ordering their lives around, and worse, objectifying them in the most crude and depraved, sadistic ways.
Yeah,
Sod that.
And they're not very creative either. I mean, you look at some women of the past that have been so talented because they've just relied on their natural talent and natural feminine ways. These modern feminists, they've got no talent. I do like to separate feminist spirituality to politics. I think when women fall on feminist spirituality, that's no problem with that. I think even men can benefit from that, and it's great. But it's this political spectrum we're talking about, and it's a difference.
Let's talk about where this goes a little bit further from this. So we've got this confession that happens to fit the evidence, and which the BBC is obviously having a lot of trouble engaging with, right? Which is making clear this plot, right? This plan. And it includes, there is supposed to be a finale to this, Paul, which is mass weaponisation of Metoo in August this year. Now, look, by August this year, barring some post-production work, Doctor Who Series 12 will certainly be completely filmed.
Yeah.
Long time ago. Probably Christmas, the New Year's special will also be done to follow it. So the odds are it's going to get shown whatever. They're not going to can it, are they? You know? But they're talking about mass weaponising all of these allegations against the BBC in August this year. Now, look, as far as it goes, perverts, paedophiles, whatever, worse, and there are worse versions, might be found lurking in the height of your liberal establishment in London, whether it's media, politics, business, whatever, organised crime, whatever, you know. I could believe a lot of things, right? And if there's people like that in the BBC, they've got to be flushed, because you cannot allow those people anywhere. They will pollute anything they're involved with. So that on that basis, I agree with the Doctor Who feminist front. What I don't agree with is their methods, and I certainly don't agree with their aims. And you know, this is not just Doctor Who. This is programming across the whole BBC, as well as other major studios. You know, and you only have to go and look at the current internet fluff about Brie Larson playing Captain Marvel, or you know, where this woman has been so openly hostile to men, and she can't stop opening her mouth. But the want to see score has just gone down through the roof. Now, so this whole shipping thing, there's nothing wrong with shipping, right? But you don't take shipping and put that straight into the middle of your main plot and look like you've done something clever, because you really haven't. You've just turned whatever quality your show had, you've just turned it into the most debased version of fan fiction possible. You know, pure pandering.
Yeah, it's blatant what's going on. It's blatant what's going on, and you can tell that the way there's certain titles that the feminists all, like the Ghostbusters thing, it was all very hip to say, you haven't even seen the film yet, but I like Ghostbusters. They have
contempt for men in general. They view men as detestable beasts.
Yeah.
So, you know, they think that all they have to do is put two women grinding up against each other on television and men will shut up and watch.
Yeah.
No, actually. No.
Some of us have a bit more depth than that.
We are better than that. And that is one of the big mistakes these people are making. But we've also started to look at things in a different light as far as Jodie Whittaker and Mandeep Gill are concerned, because we started to notice that Mandeep Gill was actually quite encouraging this speculation, like, ooh, yeah, ooh. And her character was as dull as paint in Series 11. It was very much like, what is she doing there? And most of the focus was on the Ryan Graham grandfather's grandson relationship, you know, or marital grandfather-in-law. I mean, it didn't really make as much as that as Mel had done, to be honest with you. But Mandeep Gill's Yaz character really did just stand around, and a lot of the time he was just given a couple of token actions an episode. So she looked like a token in the real sense. Even in the story which was supposedly about her, the Demons of the Punjab, where they go back to the partition of India, which was a terrible story because it's totally biased and didn't say a word against Muslims. Even in that story, she seemed like she was in the background of her own story. But now it looks different, because now we see, my God, she's not a character. She's a sleeper agent. And fans have started to respond to us and bring us information, and we've collected quite a collection of photographs of Mandeep Gill and Jodie Whittaker together. Now, some of these are in public photographs, some of these are behind the scenes photographs, but there's a good number of them, and they all show a remarkable degree of intimacy and willingness to be within each other's normal boundaries of body language. Now, women can be very friendly with each other. Right? So I certainly would not wish to suggest that I'm saying that Jodie Whittaker is really gay, or that Mandeep Gill is really gay. After all, Jodie Whittaker does have a husband and does have a child. However, their ability to show a very flushing kind of relationship shows that actually these two could play on-screen lovers quite convincingly. So, was it really Jodie Whittaker hired to play Doctor Who? Or was it Jodie Whittaker and Mandeep Gill hired to ship the Doctor and wreck the whole legacy of the show as a program that could ever possibly be taken seriously again?
Probably the latter, because I think European culture in general is being wrecked, to be honest.
Weight of evidence is going in a good direction here, Paul. And it means that, Doctor Who fans are having to realise that, you see, any problem in life, in fact, has got three solutions. You accept it, or you change it, or you leave it. It's really hard to solve any problem without doing one of those three. But on this one, the accepting it means that you're going to get served shit and shafted. Believing it means that you're not doing anything to push back against it, and they're going to win. And the change it needs people who are prepared to say there is a bigger principle here, and I will fight over that principle on the battleground of this television programme. That's what Not My Doctor Who is for. That is what Not My Doctor Who is doing. We are in this territory talking about fourth wave feminists and conspiracies with the Doctor Who feminist front, because that's where the evidence has taken us. And we continue to find more evidence. But, it's certainly adding up to a massive load of agendaing, and the BBC just treating people like complete goddamn muggins. What they say to the public through their PR people versus what they say to themselves in their policy documents. It's just a joke. It's just a sick joke. And it needs to be called out. And I just don't see why we'd even want to save the BBC at this point. Scrap it off completely, start new.
Well, I think it's good. There's a positive to this, that people are just waking up to entertainment in general, because it can brainwash people. So they got to realise that they need us. We're their audience, and if they're pissing us off, they're not going to make their millions.
The SJWs are losing.
Yeah.
But if you think about what we discovered happened within Not My Doctor Who, and how these feminists have gone, we're going to use this Metoo as a weapon to beat men over the head with. And you think about, why did Disney make those crap Star Wars films? Why is Marvel suddenly making this crap SJW film? And you wonder what leverage this cabal of feminists now has over the entertainment industry and key people within it.
Oh yeah, I mean, have you ever heard an actress or an actor deny feminism? Say, I'm no feminist, I don't like it. If their last 2 minutes in the industry, they'd be petrified to say anything like that.
Well, that would be about the last thing they would say.
Yeah. Maybe when they're 80 years old and already got a few million in the bank, they might say it then.
There's very few now who are too big to touch in that way.
Clint Eastwood comes out of it a little bit, but I think he's home and safe now.
On giving a vote, he cucked himself decades ago. This is a rich avenue here. And we were going to continue to keep blowing this up, because at some point you've got to answer to what's going on. Because here's the real rub, Paul. Let's assume these feminists have real Me Too allegations. The ones who are claiming to be basically now controlling what happens with Doctor Who. Let's assume it's all real, or at least some of it's real. If the person they're naming from the production office, if that's real, where's the police? Or if any of it's real, where's the police? Who are these women to obstruct justice and put their own beneficial agenda ahead of the suffering, apparently, of a child? So, we need to investigate this further. I mean, I'm not quite happy that. I mean, I think there's more than enough here to be worth investigating, but I'm not quite sure that the police would entirely take it seriously just yet. But we continue to have more and more lines of inquiry, and I have put this out to major bloggers, not just to Doctor Who, but in a wider sense. And there is a good deal of interest. Funnily enough, some people were saying to me, "Oh, this looks great, John, but we've got the Tommy Robinson thing coming up." So you never know, Paul. We might get the bounce back on this one. But someone's got to explain why the BBC is letting this go on.
Yeah, no, it's all good that it's coming to surface. It can be a little bit depressing and make you feel a bit black-pilled, as they say, or a bit helpless. But truth is always important.
How are we without a fight? I mean, it's only the BBC. It's not as hard as Brexit.
Yeah.
It's not as hard as Trump.
Yeah. Well, you got to try your best.
Who do these people think they are? They think they're masters of the freaking universe. They've been at the nose powder too much for far too long.
Yeah.
I'd love there to be some reality. I'd like the BBC, to be like dirt cheap, and made as cheaply as possible, and like ordinary people with regional accents reading the news. They can buy in drama or whatever. They've just had far too much influence.
More and more independence. We need more and more independence. Lots and lots and lots of media outlets, so that we can sift through the truth rather than just have the big boys smack it on the table and claim it's everything, it's gospel.
We've just had enough of mockingbirds, haven't we?
Absolutely. We are getting around that
all their varieties.
We are getting around that time and stuff, so we have to start wrapping it up. Is there anything else you'd like to add to that,
yes, I need likes. Right, and this is not a joke. Right? I don't like people going, "Oh yeah, very interesting." Well, I really want people's help with this because it really helps. Because what I need is likes on the Not My Doctor Who HQ Facebook page. Yeah, because what we can do with likes is show that we are raising these issues on behalf of a community of people, and the more likes I have, because of the way the internet works, the more potent our voice will be. At the moment, we're just clocking past the 70 mark. I reckon somewhere between 500 to 1,000, you can start to say a page has got some wallop and is a little bit too hard to ignore. And the good news is that our stuff is spreading. We've had a very good week for engagements in this week. We've gained about 150, 160% on the week before. So, this is something that is interesting people, and I am going to be staying right on it, Paul.
Cool. Well, I've just liked it now myself.
Brilliant. That's the way. That's the way. If you would be kind enough to drop that in the YouTube description on this one, Paul, we'd be appreciated.
No worries. Okay, then we'll put that in, and thank you all for listening. Maybe you can come back soon, John, and we'll talk a bit more about the Tommy.
Hopefully before too long, Paul, we will have a more solid picture of what Panodrama really is, and then we can talk about the stuff we can really need to know about because we can really do something with it.
Brilliant. Okay,
too long.
Well, thanks for coming on, and thanks to everyone for listening. I'll be seeing you again, hopefully, very soon. Take care. Bye.